The bass was shaking the floor. Neon lights painted the room in shades of blue and red. Friday nights at Club Mirage were always loud, wild, and alive, and at the center of it all was Celine. Every Friday, without fail, she showed up like she owned the place. Her skin glowed under the lights, her hips moved like rhythm itself, and her smile, sharp, confident, untouchable, pulled every eye in the room. But no one ever spoke to her, because everyone believed she couldn't hear. Celine had built that image carefully. A mysterious, gorgeous woman who danced like she didn't hear the music but somehow felt it. She never spoke. She just moved. Bartenders whispered rumors. She's deaf. She's mute. She's from New York. I heard. She's hiding something. And maybe she was. The truth? She just didn't want anyone close enough to disappoint her. Pretending to be deaf kept her safe. No small talk. No men trying to impress her. No fake smiles. Just her, the beat, and the dance floor. Tonight was no different, until he walked in. The crowd shifted like a wave as a tall man entered the club, his presence slicing through the noise. Taekwon. Everyone knew that name. He was the kind of man whose power was whispered, not spoken. The youngest Korean mafia boss in Seoul, with tattoos that looked like art and eyes that made people move out of his way without a word. Dressed in a black casual shirt and silver chain, he looked effortless, dangerous without trying. He never came to public clubs. This was beneath him. So when Celine's body swayed under the flashing lights, her curls bouncing, eyes closed, lost in rhythm, he noticed. And for the first time in years, something in his chest paused. He took a seat at the VIP corner, lit a cigarette, and watched her. She didn't look at anyone. She wasn't there for attention. She was there for herself. That irritated him. He wasn't used to being ignored, especially not by a woman. He ordered a drink, his gaze never leaving her. She danced like she was daring the world to feel what she felt. When the DJ changed the beat, her body moved with the same passion. Confident, unapologetic, glowing. Then she passed near him, and he did something reckless. He reached out and spanked her. The music might have still been playing, but for Celine, the world went silent. Her body froze mid-step. Heads turned. Even the DJ noticed the shift in energy. She turned around slowly. Her eyes, fierce, fiery brown, locked onto his. Taekwon leaned back casually, a small smirk on his lips, like he hadn't just crossed the line. Hey, one of his men started, but Celine didn't let him finish. She slapped Taekwon's drink off the table. It shattered on the floor, splashing across his shoes. The whole club gasped. You think because you're rich, you can touch whoever you want? She shouted. And just like that, everyone realized she could speak. The crowd went wild with whispers. She's not deaf. Oh my God. She spoke. Taekwon blinked, surprised. Her voice was powerful, sharp, full of attitude. He had expected fear, maybe tears, but she looked at him like he was the one in danger. Celine stepped closer, her heels clicking against the floor, her chin raised high. Try that again, and I'll make you swallow your teeth. His men tensed, ready to act, but Taekwon lifted a hand, stopping them. His eyes narrowed, studying her. Then, slowly, he smiled, not a kind one, but the kind that meant trouble. You're brave, he said, his voice calm, deep and mocking. Most people don't talk to me like that. I'm not most people, she fired back. He leaned forward slightly, his eyes roaming her face. No, you're not. Celine's heart was racing, but she refused to show it. Apologize, he chuckled. For what? For touching what everyone in this club has been watching all night. That did it. She grabbed the nearest glass of water from the table and threw it straight at his face. The entire place went silent. Water dripped from his hair down to his tattooed neck. His men stepped forward instantly, fury in their eyes, but again, Taekwon raised a hand. His expression didn't change. He just stared at her, eyes dark and unreadable. Get out, he finally said, low and controlled. Celine smirked. Gladly. She turned and walked away, hips swaying, unapologetic, confident. The crowd parted for her like she was royalty leaving the battlefield. And Taekwon, he didn't move. He just sat there, drenched, lips curling into a slow smile. She's going to be mine, he said quietly. The next morning, Celine woke up to a flood of messages. Someone had recorded the entire scene, and it had gone viral. Her phone buzzed non-stop. The fake deaf girl versus the Korean mafia, one headline read. She groaned, tossing her phone aside. Great, just great. But deep down, she couldn't stop thinking about his eyes. The way he didn't flinch when she splashed him. The calm danger in his smile. And across town, in a penthouse overlooking the Han River, Taekwon was watching the same video, replaying it. For years, he'd gotten whatever he wanted. But this time, he didn't just want her out of revenge or pride. He wanted to understand her, the woman who danced like fire and looked him in the eye like he wasn't untouchable. He leaned back, watching the screen again, whispering to himself, Celine, you just started a war you can't handle. Monday morning came too fast. Celine stood in front of the mirror in her Seoul apartment, tying her silk scarf around her neck. The weekend's chaos still replayed in her mind. The music, the slap, the splash, the look in his eyes. That man, Taekwon. She had promised herself not to think about it. He's just another rich man with ego issues, she muttered to her reflection, brushing her curls into a bun. Forget him. But that was easier said than done. Every time she closed her eyes, she could see him, sitting there, calm, dangerous, and soaked in the water she threw at him. The whole internet was obsessed. Her phone still buzzed with notifications. Hashtag the fake deaf girl was trending. Hashtag Celine vs. Mafia boss had millions of views. She had become an overnight sensation, the bold woman who stood up to a feared man. But Celine didn't care about the fame. She cared about her peace, and she couldn't afford to lose her job. She worked for Hanul Beauty, one of Korea's top luxury skincare brands. Her role as a senior marketing designer kept her busy, photo shoots, branding, fashion styling, and sometimes traveling to Seoul's elite hotels for presentations. She had fought hard for this position. As a black woman in Korea, she had faced stares, whispers, and doubts, but her talent and bold personality silenced them all. She took one last look at herself. Elegant white blouse, pencil skirt, nude heels, soft red lipstick, and smiled. They'll have to forget the club girl today, she whispered. Today, I'm the boss. The company's building stood tall in Gangnam glass, chrome, and class. The lobby smelled of luxury and jasmine. As Celine walked in, heads turned. Everyone had seen the viral video. Eyes followed her, full of curiosity. Is that her? Yeah, the one from the club. She really fought the mafia? She's crazy, but kind of iconic. Celine ignored them, her heels clicking confidently on the marble floor. She went straight to her office, placed her bag down, and took a deep breath. New week, new start, she whispered. No drama, but destiny was already laughing. By noon, an email popped into her inbox. Subject, urgent, executive meeting, conference room A. From CEO's office. Celine frowned. She had never been called to a CEO-level meeting before. Strange, she murmured, checking her calendar. Her supervisor, Mira, peeked in. Celine, you're invited too? Wow, this must be serious, she said, adjusting her glasses. They said we're getting a new investor. A major one. Celine nodded. Maybe that's why. They both walked to the elevator, chatting lightly, unaware that fate was about to slap her harder than she slapped that glass. The conference room was bright, wide, and cold. All white marble and glass walls. Executives filled the seats. Cameras, screens, and bottled water lined the table. The CEO, Mr. Han, stood at the front with his usual calm smile. Ladies and gentlemen, he began. Today we welcome a new partner. A man whose influence will elevate Hanul Beauty into global markets. Celine's pen tapped nervously on her notebook. She tried to focus on the presentation slides, but something inside her felt uneasy. Mr. Han turned toward the door. Please welcome Mr. Taekwon Lee. The room erupted in polite applause. Celine's hand froze. No, her eyes darted to the door, and there he was, the man from the club, the man she had thrown water at, the man she had called out in front of hundreds. Taekwon. He walked in with the same slow confidence, dressed in a crisp black suit that hugged his frame perfectly. His tattoos peeked faintly from under his cuffs. His hair was slicked back, and his expression was calm. Too calm. Her stomach dropped. He looked different from the man in the club, colder, cleaner, but still dangerous. The kind of man who could destroy someone's life with a single word. "Thank you," he said, voice deep and steady. "It's a pleasure to be here." He scanned the room, then his eyes landed on her. For a second, he didn't blink. Neither did she. Celine tried to look away, pretending to write something, but she could feel his gaze like a fire crawling up her skin. Mr. Han continued, "Mr. Taekwon Lee's company has officially acquired 40% of Hanul Beauty. He will be overseeing new creative directions and brand expansion." Celine's pen dropped. "He what?" she whispered under her breath. Mira nudged her. "Isn't he handsome?" she whispered. "You look like you've seen a ghost." Celine swallowed. "Oh, you have no idea." After the meeting, everyone crowded around to shake his hand. She tried to slip out quietly, praying he wouldn't notice, but of course he did. "Miss Celine!" His deep voice echoed through the room. She froze mid-step. Slowly, she turned around. He was standing just a few feet away, that same unreadable smirk on his face. "Mr. Lee," she said stiffly, forcing a polite smile. "Welcome to Hanul Beauty." His gaze flickered down her body before returning to her face. "I've seen your work," he said slowly. "Very expressive." Celine blinked. "Thank you." He tilted his head. "And your performance at Club Mirage?" She stiffened. "That was a misunderstanding." He hummed, eyes glinting. "Looked very clear to me." She clenched her jaw, trying to keep her composure. "If you're here to make me uncomfortable, I'll report." "Relax," he interrupted, stepping closer. "I'm just here for business, for now." Their eyes locked. The tension was thick enough to cut with a knife. For a brief second, she saw it again, the man behind the power. Something dangerous but oddly human flickered in his eyes. Then he smiled. "By the way, you'll be in charge of my next campaign. Directly under me." Her heart skipped. "Excuse me?" He leaned in, his voice low. "You like control, Miss Celine. Let's see how well you handle mine." Then he turned and walked away, leaving her breathless and furious. Hours later, Celine sat alone in her office, replaying his words. Every nerve in her body burned. She couldn't believe the universe was this cruel. Out of all the investors in Korea, it had to be him. Her phone buzzed again. A message from Mira. "You're trending again. They say the club girl now works for the mafia boss. #office drama." Celine groaned and threw her phone on the desk. "Perfect. Just perfect." Her assistant peeked in. "Miss Celine, Mr. Lee wants to see you in the top floor office." Her stomach twisted. "Now?" "Yes, ma'am." She stood up slowly, smoothed her skirt, and looked at herself in the mirror. Again. "You've faced worse," she whispered. "He's just a man." But when she stepped into the elevator and the doors closed, she felt the nerves rise again. Because deep down, she knew. Taekwon wasn't just any man. He was the kind of man who made fire look tame. And somehow, she had become his favorite spark. The city outside glowed like liquid gold. From her 12th floor apartment, Celine could see the Han River stretching quietly through Seoul, glittering under the night sky. The day had drained every bit of her energy. She had changed into her silk robe, poured herself a glass of white wine, and dropped onto the couch. The whole room smelled of vanilla candles and jasmine mist, her favorite. Music hummed softly in the background, the kind that wrapped the silence instead of breaking it. She tried to relax, but her mind wouldn't let her. Every scene from that morning replayed itself. Taekwon's cold smile, the way he said, "You'll work directly under me." That low tone that carried both mockery and something darker. Celine sighed. "That man needs therapy," she muttered, sipping her wine. "And maybe a leash." Her phone buzzed. She glanced at it, unknown number. She ignored it. Then it buzzed again. And again. With a groan, she picked it up. One message. "Unknown. You left work early. I don't like that." Celine blinked, reading the words twice. No name. No emojis. Just that calm, commanding text. She exhaled sharply. He didn't. Another message followed. "Unknown. Open your door." Her heart jumped. She stared at the text, confusion turning to disbelief. No way. A faint knock echoed from her front door. Once, twice, slow. Every nerve in her body tightened. She set the wine down carefully, picked up her phone, and walked toward the door barefoot. The knock came again, steadier this time. "Who is it?" she called, her voice steady though her pulse raced. No answer. Celine hesitated, then opened the door just a few inches, and froze. Taekwon. He stood there in a dark coat, rain still clinging to his hair, his expression unreadable. Behind him, the city lights reflected off the wet pavement. Her first instinct was to slam the door. "Are you out of your mind?" He slipped a hand into his pocket. "You weren't answering your phone." She stared. "Because it's midnight, Taekwon. People sleep at this hour." "I don't," he said simply, stepping past her before she could protest. Celine blinked. "Excuse me." He walked straight into her living room, eyes scanning the place. The soft lights, the art on the walls, the calm luxury. "Nice apartment," he said, voice low. "You like quiet. I like peace," she shot back, closing the door behind him. "Something you clearly don't understand." He turned, meeting her gaze. "Someone tried to follow you after work." The words hit her like ice water. "What?" "One of my men spotted a car tailing yours. Same car was outside your building 30 minutes ago." Celine's heart pounded. "You're saying someone." "I'm saying whoever recorded that club video might be stupid enough to sell it to people who shouldn't see it." She blinked, trying to process. "And how exactly do you know this?" He gave a half smile. "Because I have eyes everywhere. And because, like it or not, you're now connected to me." Celine folded her arms. "Connected? You mean because you humiliated me in public and now somehow bought half my company?" He didn't flinch. "Because the kind of men I deal with don't forgive insults easily. You made me look weak that night. Some people will try to use you to get to me." For the first time, she saw something different in his eyes. Not arrogance, but seriousness. "So what now?" she asked quietly. "Now," he said, pulling off his coat and tossing it on her couch. "You let me make sure you're safe tonight." Celine gaped at him. "You can't be serious." He shrugged. "I'm not asking." She exhaled, walking to the counter. "This is insane. You just break into my apartment to play bodyguard." He followed her with calm steps. "You should be thanking me." "Oh, thank you, mighty Mafia Lord," she snapped. "How could I ever survive without your royal protection?" The sarcasm made his lips twitch, just slightly. "You're cute when you're angry." Her eyes widened. Don't what?" he asked softly. "Flirt, threaten, whatever this is." He took a slow step closer. "I'm not flirting. You are." "Maybe." His eyes held hers, quiet but intense. "Or maybe I'm just trying to understand how a woman who pretends to be deaf at clubs can throw a drink in my face and still sleep peacefully after it." Celine met his gaze without backing down. "Because I don't scare easily." "Maybe you should," he said, his tone dropping lower. Silence settled between them, heavy, charged. For a long moment, neither moved. The only sound was the quiet hum of the city outside. Then, finally, Celine broke it. "Fine," she said. "Stay. But only for tonight. After that, I don't want to see you anywhere near me unless it's for work." He nodded once. "Deal." She crossed her arms. "You're sleeping on the couch." Taekwon glanced at it, then at her, the corner of his mouth lifting. "That's fine. I don't sleep much anyway." She rolled her eyes and turned toward her bedroom. "Good. Then you won't need a blanket." As she disappeared down the hallway, he let out a quiet laugh, the first genuine one in months. Hours later, Celine lay awake, staring at the ceiling. She could hear him faintly in the other room. Pacing, the clink of a glass, the soft sigh of a man who carried too many secrets. Against her will, she felt a strange calm knowing he was there. Not because she trusted him, but because his presence made the silence feel less empty. Somewhere in that mix of fear and curiosity, her eyelids grew heavy. Out in the living room, Taekwon stood by the window, watching the city lights. His phone buzzed. Unknown. Target identified. Orders? He typed back slowly. "Taekwon, no one touches her." He slipped the phone away, eyes narrowing at the darkness beyond the glass. She has no idea, he murmured, what she's stepped into. Celine's morning coffee didn't taste right. Even the caramel sweetness couldn't drown out the unease twisting inside her. Working under Taekwon was supposed to be a rumor, a nightmare that would fade. But here she was, dressing up to face him again like nothing had happened. She buttoned her cream blazer, tied her curls back, and whispered to her reflection, "You're not scared of him. He's just a man." But deep down, she knew better. Taekwon Lee was not just a man. He was a storm that walked in silence, and she danced right into it. At the company, everyone was unusually quiet. His arrival had changed the air. Men straightened their ties. Women whispered when he passed by. Even department heads bowed lower than usual. Celine walked through the glass hallway with her coffee, trying not to think about how she'd seen that same man. Shirtless, rain-soaked, standing at her door last night. She reached the marketing conference room and froze. He was already there. Taekwon stood by the large window, hands in pockets, gazing out at Seoul's skyline. The morning light traced the sharp lines of his jaw and caught the faint ink peeking from his collar. "Good morning, Mr. Lee," she said, keeping her voice steady. He didn't turn. "You're late. I'm 1 minute early." Now he turned slowly. His eyes met hers. Calm, unreadable, dangerous. "Then you should have been 2 minutes earlier." Her jaw clenched. "I didn't know punctuality required psychic powers." He almost smiled, almost. That tiny curve of his lips made her chest tighten. "Sit down," he said simply. She obeyed, feeling everyone's eyes flick between them. They'd noticed the electricity, the unspoken challenge. Halfway through the meeting, Celine spoke confidently about a new ad campaign idea. When she finished, the room went silent, waiting for his reaction. Taekwon leaned forward slightly, resting his chin on his knuckles. "That's bold," he said. "Very emotional." "It's meant to be," she replied. "Beauty is emotional." "True," he said softly, "but so is chaos." Her heart skipped. She knew he was referring to that night. "Would you prefer something more boring, sir?" She shot back sweetly. A murmur rippled through the team. No one ever challenged Taekwon. But instead of anger, he smiled, darkly, dangerously. "No, I like women who aren't afraid of a little chaos." She looked away, pulse racing. After the meeting, Celine tried to escape to her office, but his voice stopped her. "Miss Celine." She turned. "Stay." The others left quickly, sensing the tension. When the door closed, silence filled the room. Taekwon walked toward her, slow and deliberate, until there were only a few inches between them. She could smell his cologne, deep, clean, expensive. He leaned slightly closer, his voice low. "You still owe me something." Celine blinked. "Owe you?" He smiled faintly. "An apology. For the club. For that slap. For pretending not to hear me." She tilted her chin. "You deserved worse." He chuckled softly. "You're brave. I'm not scared of you." His gaze dropped to her lips, then rose again. "Good, because I don't want you scared. I want you aware." Celine's breath caught. "Aware of what?" "That I always get what I want." He stepped back, straightened his cuffs, and said casually, "Meeting adjourned. You did well today, Miss Celine." Then he left, leaving her trembling, furious, and confused all at once. And as the door shut behind him, she whispered to herself, "What does he even want from me?" Celine didn't leave her office for hours. Her hands still trembled as she typed, pretending to be fine, pretending to breathe normally. But Taekwon's words wouldn't stop echoing in her head. "I always get what I want." Who says that with such calm certainty? Who looks at someone like that? Not with lust, not with anger, but with possession? She slammed her laptop shut and leaned back, rubbing her temples. "This man will make me lose my job or my mind," she muttered. Outside, Seoul's evening sky turned violet, casting soft light over her office. Most employees had already gone home, but Celine stayed, avoiding the lobby, avoiding him. When she finally gathered her things and stepped into the hallway, she froze. He was there, leaning against the elevator, one hand in his pocket, scrolling his phone. No guards, no assistants, just him. She hesitated. "Are you following me now?" Without looking up, he replied calmly. Same building. Same elevator. Don't flatter yourself. She rolled her eyes. Then take it first. He finally met her gaze. Ladies first. Celine walked past him. The air between them charged. The elevator doors slid open, and they both stepped inside. Silence. Only the hum of the floor numbers changing. Only the sound of her breathing, quick and shallow, betraying her nerves. Then, halfway down, the elevator jerked suddenly and stopped. Celine gasped. What's happening? Taekwon looked up calmly. Power trip. It happens sometimes. She pressed the buttons frantically, but nothing worked. We're stuck. He chuckled softly. Relax. You act like you've never been alone with a man before. She glared at him. Not one who spanks strangers at clubs, no? His grin deepened, quiet, dangerous amusement. You never let that go, huh? I don't forget easily. I noticed, he said, his voice dropping low. You remember everything I do. Celine swallowed hard, looking away. Don't flatter yourself. But Taekwon stepped closer, closing the space between them. The faint scent of his cologne wrapped around her. Cedar, smoke, and something darker. Why do you hate me so much? He asked quietly. She blinked, caught off guard. Because you're arrogant. You think you own the world. He nodded slowly. Maybe, but arrogance isn't always evil. Sometimes it's armor. She looked at him properly then. Not the boss, not the mafia rumors, just a man. And for the first time, she saw something flicker behind his eyes. Something lonely. Before she could speak, the lights flickered back on, and the elevator started moving again. Taekwon straightened, mask sliding back in place. You see? Nothing to fear. As the doors opened, he stepped out first, but paused, glancing over his shoulder. Be careful walking home. I'll have a car follow you. I don't need protection, she said. Too late, he replied. You've got it. And then he walked away. That night, she lay awake again, staring at her ceiling. Her phone buzzed. A message. Unknown number. You left your file in the boardroom. I had someone drop it off. Celine, you could have just left it on my desk. Unknown number. I don't leave things I want lying around. She stared at the screen, her heartbeat thudding. She didn't reply. Minutes later, another message. Unknown number. Good night, Miss Celine. Her chest tightened. She tossed her phone aside, pressing her pillow against her face. This man is going to ruin me, she whispered. But what she didn't know, what no one in the company knew, was that Taekwon hadn't left the office yet. He was still in his top-floor suite, lights dim, staring at a single photo on his screen. A photo of her, the night she danced at the club, laughing freely, eyes closed, lost in music. He zoomed in slightly, his thumb brushing the glass. For a man known for cruelty and power, the faint smile that crossed his face looked almost human. The next morning, whispers filled the office again. Everyone had heard the rumor. Someone had seen Taekwon's private car parked outside Celine's apartment building at dawn. Celine walked in, pretending not to hear. But deep inside, she was shaking, because she'd seen the same black car through her curtains that morning, and she wasn't sure if she wanted it to go away or stay.
Hello besties, thank you so much for watching episode 1. Kindly stay tuned for episode 2. Thank you so much for watching. Kindly like, subscribe and share.